Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? So Saints beat the Giants, but they lost Derek Carr in the process. If you weren't watching the game, about 4 minutes to go in the ball game. The Saints are up 14-11. They're facing a 2nd and 10. Derek Carr rolls right and pinned up against the sideline. He goes airborne, lands awkwardly on his left non-throwing hand, stayed down. After the game, Rizzy noted that Carr injured his left hand, but was also in the concussion protocol, and he'd be evaluated. So on Monday, Ian Rappaport reported that Derek Carr, actually Sunday after the game, he reported Carr was feared to have suffered a fracture in his non-throwing hand. On Monday, Rappaport confirmed that Carr did in fact suffer I'm reading his tweet, a significant fracture in his non-throwing hand. He's expected to miss several weeks. Based on where we are in the season, this is potentially season ending. Rizzy met with reporters on Monday. This was after Rappaport's report about the significant fracture and a potentially season-ending injury to Carr. Here was Rizzy on Monday.
You know, I've already seen some reports out there, a little bit false. So right now, obviously, like I said yesterday, Derek's dealing with a non-throwing hand injury. As it stands at this moment, I don't believe it's going to be an IR situation. I think it's going to be a week-to-week situation. So we're going to kind of take this day by day this week. We'll see how this week plays out. He is in the concussion protocol also, so he's got to complete the first step of that tomorrow. So it is a double aspect in terms of the injury. You're dealing with both. So we got to obviously see what happens there. But this will be a day-to-day right now this week, and really I think it's going to end up being the way it looks, it'll end up being a week-to-week situation with him.
Okay, so week-to-week, they're not putting Derek Carr on if they put him on IR, his season would be over. So they're not putting Derek Carr on injured reserve, meaning he'd be eligible to, he's still available to play if he's physically able. He does have to clear concussion protocol, as you heard him say there. And Rizzy was very clear. They asked him about Sunday, this coming Sunday against Washington.
We're not going to rule him out just yet. I think we have to see how the next day or two, what the healing process is like, and see if he can function. But again, don't forget we're also dealing with the other aspect too.
So again, just we'll wait and see about this week. It's his left non-throwing hand, so it doesn't affect his ability to throw. Like, can you take a snap under center? Can you deal with the pain? Is he going to wear a club? All that stuff I don't know. So, but again, they're not ruling him out yet, but concussion is a part of that as well. I do have some thoughts. And listen, it's disappointing because, like we talked about back when Carr got hurt against Kansas City, regardless of my feelings on Derek Carr, big picture, which I've been very upfront, literally from the day the Saints signed Derek Carr, he has a higher floor, lower ceiling. Like, with Derek Carr, your floor isn't 2-15. You have a higher floor, but you have a lower ceiling. 11 years as a starting quarterback in the NFL, we know what Derek Carr is. He is a lower, mid, upper, low tier starting quarterback. Still a starting quarterback, still one of the greatest quarterbacks in the world, but he's never going to win you anything of significance. Like, we have a large enough sample size now, 11 years, to know what he is. He is Andy Dalton. You can all roll your eyes and scoff at that, but I said it the day they signed him, look at the stats. They are identical players. Derek Carr is Andy Dalton. He's a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's just not an elite starting quarterback in the NFL and never will be. And now as he gets older, you wonder about durability and a lot of things like that. But he is still a better option right now than Jake Haener or Spencer Rattler. So if you can have Derek Carr, of course you want Derek Carr. Rizzy was asked point blank, and I would go a little deeper, but he was asked point blank if this is an injury that Derek Carr can play through.
I'll say this, it's been done before. I don't know if it was Justin Herbert off the top of my head or Josh Allen or whoever it was, has had these injuries before with this non-throwing hand. It appears at the moment that it's non-surgical, which is a big aspect of it. And if it was surgical, we'd be talking about having a different conversation, which is why this is going to remain day-to-day, week-to-week type of thing. And so, but it has been done before. like I said, we're also dealing with the concussion aspect of it. So we have to make sure he's cleared there from that aspect, and then we'll take, one step at a time. If he clears a concussion, then we'll see if, he's going to be able to function. He's obviously sore today. It's the day after the injury. So when I say day to day, we'll see how he follows up with the, everything, swelling, all that kind of stuff. We'll see where he's at moving forward.
So I'm a little torn on the injury itself, on the play itself, which I guess we have to talk about. There's one part of me that looks at it and goes, man, you love to see that from your veteran leader. I mean, you're a 4-8 football team. You're in a 3-point game, 4 minutes to go. It's 2nd and 10. You're trying to make a play. He goes airborne. Like, that part of it, you love. The other part of it is you go, man, you got to be smarter than that. It was 2nd down. It's not like the game is on the line here. You're up 3. It's 2nd and 10. If he runs out of bounds or even puts his shoulder down and goes out, you got 9 yards. Now you got 2 downs to get 1. And I understand you haven't run the ball very well. That's a dangerous play. Obviously, no one thinks you're going to get injured in the manner he did. So I'm not going to come out and say that. Again, I'm torn. I love the fact that in that moment, he's doing everything he can to get that extra yard for his team. Love that. Don't love the fact that it wasn't a very smart thing to do in the moment, considering the down and distance. But again, I love the fact that he has that mindset right there. And of course, the decision not to put him on IR does leave open the possibility of returning. We'll see how likely that may be. Now, as far as what you do moving forward with Haener or Rattler if Carr is out, there's that question. And look, let's be very clear. You had 3 games where Spencer Rattler started. In those 3 games, you averaged 15 points per game. Okay, you were not very good offensively. And yes, one of those was against the Chargers, which at the time was the best scoring defense in the NFL. You again, had 3 games. It was Tampa Bay. Let's see, it was Tampa, who am I forgetting? What was this load? Who am I forgetting? Tampa Bay Broncos. Broncos on Thursday Night Football. It's Tampa Broncos and the Chargers. You scored 27 against Tampa, 10 against Denver, and then 8 against the Chargers. That was with Rattler starting. The other 10 games with Derek Carr starting, you've averaged 24.5 points per game. Now, if you eliminate the first 2, which you can't do, but it's clearly been a dramatically different season than the first 2 games, you've averaged 19 points per game with Derek Carr outside of the first 2, which have been more the norm. 15 with Rattler. So it's not like it's been a gigantic difference. But if you do take into account the first 2 games, you're averaging nearly 10 points more per game with Derek Carr than the 3 that you didn't have him. So the question now becomes Haener or Rattler if Carr can't go. Darren Rizzy was asked on Monday how they're going to split the reps in practice this week, but then also what goes into the decision to choose between Rattler, who started 3 times, and Haener, who's been the backup when Carr's been injured.
I got to be honest, I actually feel, I'm not trying to play the fence sitter here. I actually think both guys give us a chance to win. I think, obviously, the last time Derek was out for an extended period of time, we decided to go with Spencer. I think Jake and both guys, have performed well right since training camp. And so, I thought in that last go-around, we felt like Spencer gave us the best chance to start. And so, that's where we're going to kind of list all the pros and cons. Who are we playing? What defense? What's the game plan? Here are the weapons. And so that's all the things we're going to discuss today. We'll have a decision by that probably tomorrow.
Okay, who you're playing this week, of course, is Washington. Now, remember, in the NFL, schedule-wise, today's a recovery day. They'll all be in the building getting treatment. Tuesday is an off day in the NFL. Then they're at practice on Wednesday, and that's when we'll see the first injury report. So when he says he'll make a decision Tuesday, of course, that's when you're going to start implementing, strategizing the game plan. So Wednesday, when they're all back, boom, you're hitting the ground running with whoever your starter is, getting all the starters reps that week. I know there's there is this feeling that maybe you need to go ahead and give Jake Haener a try because it didn't go great with Rattler when he started the 3 games. It's important to remember, Spencer Rattler is a rookie quarterback in the NFL, and rookie quarterbacks struggle. Caleb Williams was the number 1 pick in the draft. He's the quote-unquote transcendent talent, right? And I know that's overused, but it's something everybody says. He's the can't-miss prospect, the number 1 player. Caleb Williams right now has a QBR of 46.3 and a rating of 87.8. He's done some pretty good things in the last a few weeks in particular. But it's been a struggle bus year for Caleb Williams, as it is for most rookies. I mean, Peyton Manning's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. He threw more interceptions as a rookie than any player in the history of the NFL. And they went 3-13. It's hard in the NFL for rookie quarterbacks. You could look at Jaden Daniels, but he's the outlier. He's the exception, certainly not the rule. Look at Bryce Young. Bryce Young was miserable a year ago. So much so that at this year's trade deadline, we're looking going, is he a bust? Like, do they trade him at this year's trade deadline and already move on? Well, now all of a sudden in the last month, Bryce Young looks like a different player, like he's figured some things out. That's a year and a half in for Bryce Young. Rattler's 3 games in. So I'm not going to judge Rattler's long-term ability based on the outcome of 3 games where he was starting behind a makeshift offensive line without some of his best weapons. So I don't know which direction they go here. I think from my perspective, though, I'm looking at Haener and Rattler going, okay, these coaches, this staff, see these guys every day. They see them in camp. They've seen them in games. They've seen them in game week and prep and everything. Which guy has the higher upside? Which guy do you think has the higher upside based on what you've seen? And that's who you have to start. Because if you're going to get through it with these guys, the young player struggles to get them to a point where they're maybe capable of being your franchise quarterback, your starter in the NFL, like, you got to get them reps and experience. But I'm not saying, oh, man, Rattler struggled for 3 games, so you punt on him and you go with Haener. I mean, he's a rookie. If you still see upside, then I say, well, Rattler got that experience. He's got more experience now than Haener. You go with the more experienced backup who's been in those situations. Let's see if he can continue to progress. Now, I'll remind you, you get 4 games left. And I don't know if Derek Carr is going to be able to go. But when you look at total defense of your 4 remaining opponents, Washington's 12th, Green Bay's 13th, the Raiders are 15th, and the Bucs are 27th. So you got 3 teams around the middle, a little better than the middle of the NFL, and then the Bucs, who are one of the worst defensively in the NFL. You get 2 games at home, including this weekend. I know there's going to be a contingent that wants to see Jake Haener out there because it didn't go great for Rattler. I'm more of the belief to say, let me see Rattler again. He got the opportunity. Now he had a chance to sit and watch. What does it look like if he gets to go again? Remember, earlier this year, Bryce Young got benched. And now he's come back from that benching. He's played better of late. I mean, Bryce Young had some Houdini plays in that game yesterday against Philadelphia Eagles. So, I'm not telling you it's going to look great. But that's just where I am here on Monday, just finding out the Derek Carr injury a few hours ago. If Carr isn't able to go, I think I'm rolling with Rattler again. The coaching staff's already said they feel like he has the higher upside. He's the one that gives them the best chance to win. Let me see if that's a guy that can go make plays, having had an opportunity to start. Now watch. Give him another go. We'll see. We'll obviously have the latest as the week goes along. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.